Welcome to the debrief, everyone. Our top stories this morning: this desperate search for nearly 1,000 people now unaccounted for in those California wildfires. We'll have the latest on that, as well as President Trump's new comments about Robert Mueller and the Russia investigation. But first, here are your headlines.
A 17-year-old race car driver is facing surgery today after a violent crash at a race in Macau. Sofia Flores's car went airborne at about 170 miles per hour.
The crash sending 5 people to the hospital with serious injuries and causing the remainder of the race to be halted for over an hour. Flores, remarkably still conscious after the accident, was taken to the hospital and initially diagnosed with a spinal fracture.
The head of Nissan is out. The company now says Chairman Carlos Ghosn is being dismissed for faking reports on his pay and underreporting it for years. There may be new hope for kids with peanut allergies. A new study says an experimental drug allowed some children to eat small amounts of peanuts without showing any serious reactions.
Billionaire Michael Bloomberg is giving $1.8 billion to his alma mater, Johns Hopkins. The head of the school now says that will allow them to recruit students without having to look at their finances.
And a secret Santa shown up in Derby, Vermont. Workers at a Walmart say a mystery man came in, paid off all the items on layaway at the store.
This can't be. Who can afford to just pay for everyone's layaway? And he said, Santa Claus can.
Good morning, everyone. We begin out west today, where firefighters have their work cut out for them, desperately fighting those wildfires and also searching for survivors. The death toll is now at nearly 80 people. The number of people unaccounted for, now roughly 1,000. ABC's Marcus Moore has the latest on that. Marcus?
Well, Diane, good morning. For the first time in several days, it seems like the air, the smoke from the fire that destroyed this house and so many others in Paradise seems to be clearing. And that is encouraging news for the people who lost everything here. There was at one point, because the smoke had been sitting around here for several days, it was so thick in the San Francisco area at one point that researchers said that breathing it in at that time was like smoking 11 cigarettes in one day. So certainly the air quality has been a major concern in the days following the campfire that continues to burn here in Northern California. And we have been monitoring the death toll that over the weekend skyrocketed to at least 77 people killed in the campfire alone. And then there are about 1,000 people still on that list of those considered missing or unaccounted for. And there's been an urgent effort to find those people and figure out where they are they safe? And we have seen that effort playing out at shelters here in the area, as well as at a tent city that popped up at the Walmart. And they have been able to mark off a number of those names, but that process still very much well underway. And so is the effort to put out this fire and go through the rubble to see if indeed there may be people who stayed in their homes and passed away. And I want to show you what we've seen here in Paradise, a town that was pretty much completely wiped off of the map. You saw the home there, what was left of it, and look at this car that's burned out in the driveway. These flames really relentless in how they roared through these communities with such speed and ferocity that people did not have a lot of time, and just about everything in the path of those flames burned. And you see the shell of what looks like a cabinet here, a metal cabinet that survived but still charred and melted. And it is a heartbreaking thing to see. And it is also a heartbreaking thing to hear the stories of the people who have been affected by this. The man who lives at this house was away. He had gone to work and he heard about the fire. And while his home has been burned, he said what he was really upset about is the fact that 3 cats that he raised died in this fire, and he wished that he could have been here to save those animals. He also talked about the fact that he lost a number of his friends in this fire, and that he really doesn't want to come back here, Diane. He says because this town is changed forever. They don't even have a place to go have coffee right now as friends, and that's very upsetting to him. So this is an unprecedented tragedy that has unfolded and continues to develop here in Northern California, but there is, Diane, relief on the way, and that comes in the form of rain. It's expected to rain here pretty heavily starting late Tuesday into Wednesday, and that will certainly help firefighters in their battle against the campfire. But it introduces a whole new danger because of all of the scorched ground here in this area. A lot of rain brings about the worry of mudslides. Diane.
If it's not one thing, it's another, Marcus. It's hard to imagine what these people have been through. Thank you. And as those firefighters try to fight the fires, try to search for the missing, those who survived this fire are now left to pick up the pieces. Carlos Herrera with KXTV has a look at that side of the story. Carlos, I know you're at an unofficial evacuation center there in Chico. What's the scene like there?
Yeah, this is Walmart in Chico. This has been the unofficial site for many folks, hundreds of families for more than 10 days already. Take a look. We've been covering this story for now several days, almost a week already. The amount of campsites here, tents and sleeping bags have been set up have definitely decreased since yesterday, and that's because the county officials and the American Red Cross are advising people to simply go to the 6 nearby shelters that are indoors. Show you to my left, folks who don't sleep in their tents choose to sleep in their cars in the parking lots, and this is definitely devastating. The main concern this morning continues to be the cold weather, the bad air quality, and of course the chances of rain that will increase by Wednesday. We've been telling a lot of these stories from displaced families. Joining me now is Cami Machado. Cami, you are from Magalia. Your family doesn't know if you lost everything, but you've been here for several days. You've loaded up your van and you have your tent here as well. Tell me how it's been for you so far.
It's been a little rough with my 19-month-old daughter and parents and I in a 5-person tent. We didn't have any heat, so we had to find a propane heater, and they ran out inside. So that was the first priority. And the first night, we had ice on our pillows.
So yesterday, a lot of people chose to pack their bags and go. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose to stay here?
I don't have anywhere else right now. And my mom, daughter, and father are going to Bullhead City, Arizona, to my sister's house. And my husband and I are trying to get to Seattle to my aunt's, where we have jobs waiting for us in order to stabilize and be secure.
The big question here is, what is next for you and for your husband and for the rest of your family? What is next?
I think that we're going to have to split to separate sides of the country. It's what's best for her. And my mom, I trust her to take care of my kids. She took care of me. And so my sister has just the couch. And then her own daughter has her room that she's going to share with my daughter. That way, my mom and dad have shelter. My daughter's taken care of, and she's in somewhere that she's loved and taken care of. My husband and I have jobs waiting for us in Seattle after Thanksgiving through my aunt's neighbor. And we're going to be staying with her on her couch and hopefully employed by Christmas and making money to get our own.
Have you been able to go back to your home and see if it's there, what's left of it, your neighborhood?
I've been offered to sneak in by a couple of my friends that live in the neighborhood who say, I know back roads. I haven't been back yet, and I'm not sure if I really want to right now. Everything could be either gone or it could be just miraculously saved, but then I still have to see all my neighbors' homes if they don't make it, and my husband's job, which got burned.
How does it make you feel to see all these folks sleeping in their tents outdoors with the cold weather, the chance of rain for Wednesday? How can they prepare?
Find a bridge. I'm finding a bridge myself. My husband and I have a pretty good bridge planned out to be underneath if it does start raining, so that way we don't get flooded and we don't get pneumonia. I don't know how these people are hunkering down and harboring. I think the best bet is, they're just counting their eggs and figuring out what's next.
All right. Well, thank you, and good luck to you and to your family. Again, these folks have been told that they might have to wait at least 10 days to go back home and at least check what is left of it. Just one last look. of all these tents that are left behind here. Many of them vacant, others with families inside. Again, the main concern this morning is what will they do once the rain moves in on Wednesday. We'll send it back over to you.
And Carlos, if there are indoor shelters nearby, why are people choosing to stay outside in a tent?
Well, we've asked a couple of people. They say this is where their friends are, people that they grew up with, that they live next to in the neighborhoods where, the fire rolled through. So they don't want to leave those folks behind. Again, there are 6 shelters nearby. Some of them choose to stay because that camaraderie, the sense of family, and just not leaving anyone behind at this point.
Understandable. All right, Carlos Herrera there in Chico, California. Carlos, thank you. And now we want to go to that mystery on a cruise ship. An American woman is now dead as the FBI tries to figure out if she was murdered. And now her family is speaking out. Victor Kendo is tracking that case for us from Miami. Victor, this seems like a bizarre one.
It's bizarre and incredibly sad, Diane. We've spoken with the victim's family. They tell us she's 52-year-old Almarosa Tenorio. She was a loving mother, a grandmother. She was also a volunteer teacher's aide. So we've got a lot of details about her, but the exact details into how she died, still a mystery. Investigators are still working to determine how she plummeted 14 stories onto a lifeboat after struggling with an unidentified man. That's according to local reports. The Royal Princess was between Curacao and Aruba at the time of her death last week. The FBI is investigating along with officials in Aruba. The public prosecutor telling ABC News they are looking at every angle, including possible homicide. They've conducted a forensic investigation and an autopsy, but have not released the results, only saying that she died of unnatural causes. Tenorio was traveling with her husband at the time. Officials tell us that he's been questioned, but as a witness right now, Diane, he is not a suspect.
And what do we know about Tenorio herself? Is there anything in her bio that's maybe raising any questions?
Well, only what her family told us right now is that she loved to travel as well. She was actually an avid cruiser, so she'd been on many cruises before. We should also mention that this cruise ship, it has come back to South Florida. It docked in Fort Lauderdale over the weekend, and that's actually when we got to hear from some of the passengers who were on board this ship, some of them actually speaking to ABC News. Take a listen.
It was a rude awakening at 4 o'clock. They made the announcement right into our rooms.
We only found out afterwards when we arrived in Aruba that an accident had taken place. We couldn't get off the ship until the local authorities gave us permission.
As you can imagine, word spread very quickly. Those people were afraid. Again, Diane, how this happened. Investigators still working on figuring out how and why this woman plummeted to her death.
Yeah, so strange. And is the cruise company issuing any kind of statement on this?
They said that they are cooperating with the FBI and the investigation right now, obviously offering their condolences to the family and all those affected as well. But that's really all they could do at that point. And again, still a mystery here, how and why this happened.
Yeah, sad story. All right, Victor Okendo there for us from Miami. Thanks, Victor. And now let's head over to the White House, where the president is again sounding off on the Russia investigation, this time saying his acting attorney general could potentially limit the special counsel's work. Karen Travers is outside the White House. And Karen, it sounds like the president does not intend on sitting down with the special counsel Robert Mueller anytime soon.
He certainly does not, Diane. That is much more unlikely than it was a year ago or even over the last couple of months. Remember, last year, President Trump said 100% he would be willing to sit down under oath and talk to Robert Mueller and his team of investigators. That shifted over the next few months, where the president said he was willing to talk to Mueller, but his lawyers did not want him to. Well, now, Diane, we've entered perhaps a new phase in the Russia probe. The president says he has answered in writing Mueller's questions. He says he did it himself, not his lawyers, and it was okay to do that because they were very simple. The president says when you've done nothing wrong, it's easy to answer those questions. Diane, the president says this week he'll be turning them over to Mueller's team, and then of course he's taking off for Florida on Tuesday for a long holiday weekend, so kind of like any college student, get that last paper in and then head out for a little bit of vacation.
That's how you do it. I know from many college papers,
I might have done that
I'm sure
too.
You did too. We're also, speaking of papers, the Washington Post is reporting that We're expecting a full report on the murder of that Washington Post columnist Khashoggi over in Turkey. What's the latest on that case?
The president had some very interesting comments about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi in an interview with Fox News over the weekend. The president says that the United States does have that recording of the Khashoggi murder, which the president described as very violent, very vicious, and terrible. But Diane, he didn't listen to it. He said he asked his advisors if they would recommend he listen to that recording. They said no, that they would brief him on it. And Diane, once again, we're seeing this pattern from the president where a close ally has denied any wrongdoing. In this case, it's the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, who told the president, according to the president several times, he did not order this. That is what the CIA's assessment is, according to the Washington Post. The president says, stay tuned, there will be a report this week.
All right, we'll see. And the president's also making headlines for some comments he made about the general who directed the Osama bin Laden raid. What's happening there?
This was interesting. This is a very highly regarded Navy SEAL, former Rear Admiral William McRaven, who has been critical of the president for some of his comments about the media. The president, in that interview with Fox News, was pushing back. Here's what he had to say.
Bill McRaven, retired admiral, Navy SEAL, 37 years, former head of U.S. Special Operations.
Hillary Clinton fan.
Special Operations.
Excuse me, Hillary Clinton fan.
Who led the operations, commanded the operations that took down Saddam Hussein and that killed Osama bin Laden, says that your sentiment is the greatest threat to democracy in his lifetime.
He's a Hillary Clinton backer and an Obama backer. And frankly,
he was a Navy SEAL.
Wouldn't it have been nice if we got Osama bin Laden a lot sooner than that? Wouldn't it have been nice?
And Diane, McRaven told ABC News in a statement that he did not support Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. He doesn't support candidates, but he did say he is a fan of former President Obama and former President George W. Bush. He worked for both of them. And Diane, he also said he admires presidents who, quote, uphold the dignity of the office. Very scathing response there from McRaven.
Definitely a lot of shade going back and forth on that one. Karen Travers from outside the White House. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks.
Meanwhile, the president does have something to celebrate. The recount in Florida is now over, and the Republicans have a victory there. Democratic Florida Senator Bill Nelson conceded this seat to current Governor Rick Scott. So the Republicans now have control of the Florida senator seat, and Mary Bruce has the latest on the elections. Mary, Florida is now resolved, but there are some other seats that are still in contention. What's going on there?
Yeah, this isn't done yet, but certainly cause for Republicans to celebrate over the weekend after that 12-day bruising recount. Lawsuits on both sides of the aisle. Republican Rick Scott did emerge as the next senator, the Republican, down in Florida. Of course, in the governor's race there, you had Andrew Gillum also conceding to Ron DeSantis, another win for Republicans there. Interesting when you look at the governor races across the country. We also saw in Georgia, Stacey Abrams over the weekend conceding, saying that she does admit now that the Republican Brian Kemp will be the next governor, but she's refusing to say that he is legitimate. She says he is legal, but she says dealing with all of the concerns surrounding issues of voter suppression, she's criticized that issue strongly. She has said that she will say he's legal, but she's not ready to call him legitimate just yet.
All right. And then on the House side of things, we know that the Dems won the majority there with the results that are already in. So the big question now is, will Nancy Pelosi be the House Speaker once again?
And if you ask Nancy Pelosi, she says 100%. She is oozing confidence that she will be the next Speaker of the House. But there are, by our count, roughly 20 House Democrats who say they will not support Pelosi. If you're doing the math there, that is enough to deny Pelosi the gavel. But the big X factor here is that no one has yet come forward to formally challenge Pelosi. She has a message for anyone who wants to jump in the race. She says, quote, come on in, the water is warm.
All right, well, good enough. We'll find out soon enough. Mary Bruce from Capitol Hill. Thanks, Mary. And enough about Congress. We have a much more important vote to cast today, people. We've got Jordan Phelps at the National Turkey Federation with the details on that. Jordan?
Hi, Diane. I'm here at the Willard Hotel in Washington, and as millions of turkeys are set to meet their fate on the Thanksgiving dinner table later this week, the two turkeys behind me are going to have a very different destiny. Meet peas and carrots. These two turkeys are vying to become the official Thanksgiving turkey. Only one of them will get the official presidential pardon at the White House. tomorrow. But Diane, don't get your feathers ruffled. Both of these turkeys will be allowed to live out the rest of their natural lives at Virginia Tech University in a facility aptly named Gobbler's Rest.
All right, so Jordan, we have a duty as citizens here. This is big time.
Big time. People are able to go online and cast their vote for whether they'd like to see peas or carrots, get the official pardon tomorrow. And Diane, I'd like to point out that these turkeys, these are really special turkeys. They get special treatment. It's a tradition that they stay here at the Willard Hotel. I actually was able to visit with them yesterday in their hotel suite here at the Willard, where they have free reign in that hotel room. And I talked to the chair of the National Turkey Federation, and he told me about the special preparations that go into preparing a turkey for this sort of event. Take a listen.
Tomorrow we'll shampoo them before they go to see the president. We will use baby powder because it kind of helps them, their feathers look nicer. And so you want, though, a turkey that's good demeanor, gets along, not aggressive. We've had them around kids and around animals so that they will be calm and and hopefully be calm around the president and the Rose Garden with all that activity.
So, of course, while these turkeys are specially trained for this event, things don't always go as planned. One turkey tried to turn the tables on George W. Bush and almost took a bite out of him. There have been some funny cases like that, but that's why this event is so beloved. Every president since George H.W. Bush has given the official pardon to a turkey, and it's one of those great events where we try to stuff as many puns as we possibly can into a lighthearted White House event.
You gotta love it. Peas and carrots in their hotel room with their feathers, getting baby powdered. That is the life. All right, Jordan Phelps. Thanks, Jordan, for the update. And finally, while peas and carrots may be enjoying their hotel room, many people haven't gotten to their hotel rooms yet. And this weekend, we are looking at a crazy holiday rush. Not even the weekend. It's starting now. Gio Benitez is at LaGuardia Airport with a look at that part of the holiday. Gio, AAA is predicting this will be the busiest holiday travel period in over a decade. So is there even a way to avoid the chaos at this point?
You know what, Diane? There is a way. Right now, actually, it's not too bad. I've seen a lot of people just zoom through here, so that's good news. We're here at LaGuardia Airport. So at least today, right at this moment, it's fine, but it's not going to be fine in just a few hours. That's going to pick up. Wednesday, that's going to be the absolute worst day for travel, the busiest time, no matter if you're traveling by air, automobile, or train. That's going to be super busy. That's the day before Thanksgiving. The easiest day to travel is Thanksgiving Day itself. So if you're able to hold it out and just wait, Thursday morning, when you're getting ready to go down and see your family, try to fly then because you'll have a lot less issues.
All right, procrastination rewarded for once. I like that. And Gio, with so many people hitting the roads, hitting the airways, are there any extra security precautions in play?
Well, you know what? TSA is putting in about 1,000 more than 1,000 officers. They're adding them to their security here because obviously you're going to have so many people going through all across this country. And they're actually going to start testing out some new technology. So that may help. It may actually set you back. But listen, by car, you're talking about 48.5 million people hitting the roads. That's more than last year. You're talking about 25 million people traveling by air. That's more than last year. So you're going to have all these people getting into the system. It's much more than last year, but you're also going to have the weather. You're going to have this rain, this wild rain and wild snow that's expected in the Northeast. So that's really going to cause a big problem for so many people just across the country, even though that weather system is going to be in the Northeast.
All right, Gio. Well, enjoy that elbow room while you have it, Gio. I don't think you're going to get to enjoy it for very long. Thanks, Gio. Yeah. And now let's find out how the weather will cooperate with all those people hitting the roads and the skies. Let's check in with Ginger Z for the forecast. Ginger?
Diane, thank you. And I hate to bring everybody this news, but it is going to be one of the coldest Thanksgivings on record. Hey, at least it doesn't come with travel problems as far as precipitation. So there's that. But yes, you don't have to put your turkey in the refrigerator or freezer because you can just keep it outside. That's how cold we're talking. Boston could end up with their coldest Thanksgiving on record, starting the morning there at 5 with a wind chill feeling like 9 in New York City, 4 below the feels like in Syracuse. So if you're visiting someone and you're from outside of the Midwest or Northeast, this is really going to shock you. Washington, D.C. going for a high sub-freezing. These are actual air temperatures then. And Boston, the coldest they've ever been on Thanksgiving, 24. Going for a high of 19. So we could really even smash the record. Just what you want to do on your Thanksgiving morning. It'll certainly feel like it, at least for a little dusting of snow that'll come through with a clipper system by northern Connecticut, right through most of Massachusetts and parts of upstate New York. But mostly the coast's going to remain rain, which is great travel-wise because by Wednesday we clear it out. Speaking of clearing out, we need to clear this out, and we will. That is the smoke that you see, the haze from the fires near San Francisco. You can hardly see it, but it's the San Francisco skyline. What will happen is we're going to get a couple of systems that plow through the West Coast and really bring the chance not only of just rain, but of course that fresh air. It's going to tend to take down the smoke, hopefully help the fires. And the only problem could be is if there are any burn scars or any areas that are, especially in some of the more mountainous areas in Northern California, when some of the heavier rain comes in by Friday, we could be looking at something, a mudslide or potentially a debris flow. So there's always the plus and minus, but I think overall this is going to be a really positive thing for the West Coast, Diane.
All right, Ginger, good to hear. And let's hope for just the plus side, no mudslides for the Thanksgiving out west. And that does it for us here at ABC News Live today. Remember, you can check your headlines all day long at abcnews.com or at your ABC News app. For the Debrief, I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day and hit the road if you can.